So before we get too far into it, just do a quick shameless plug. So for the agents that are here, you know about our REAPS reward program. Actually, last week we sent out over $600 in REAP reward checks. So pretty much what that is when you sponsor an agent that comes in, you share in the profits that the company takes. So then if you're an agent just watching here and you want to learn more about Miranda Executive Realty, you can scan that QR code to learn more about us. Quick disclaimer. I am a broker, right? Broker, real estate agent, realtor, whatever title you want to give me, that's where it ends, right? The things that we talk about here are my opinions. They're the way that I practice my business. Some of it is timely, and times change, and maybe at some point it wouldn't be the way that you would do things. But don't ever look at this as the way that things must be done. This is just an opinion on a strategy or an approach. On the way that things could be done. I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. So, if there's things that fall into any category outside of what you would seek counsel from a real estate broker from, go seek the appropriate counsel with the appropriate individual. If you have questions as we go along, comments, if you have things to add, you can raise your hand, and once I finish the thought, I'll come to you. Or if you want to type it in the chat box, you can type it in the chat box. Let me go ahead and open up my chat box here so I can see if anybody wants to add something there. And then we'll circle back, come around to that, or at the end we'll do questions and answer as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this today. We're going to talk about natural persuasion, influence without sounding scripted. In real estate, when you first start in real estate, one of the big things, especially if you're like myself, I started my career as a cold caller. We moved to Florida. I had no friends. I had no family. I knew nobody in Florida. We only knew that, okay, we want to live in Florida. We packed everything up. We moved down. And it was with the sole intent of two things. Number one, to live in Florida. And number two, if I'm going to start over, I'm going to start a new career. I had already been selling real estate part-time in Illinois. I was an investor more than a real estate agent in Illinois, but I wanted to sell it full-time, start that career here. Cold calling was the way that I did it because I knew literally nobody. Everything that I teach is stuff that I've learned along the way, whether it was through some coaching that I took somewhere, some classes, or just I learned it the hard way through trial and error. So scripts are one of the things that in the very beginning, when you're cold calling or you're working with customers, cold, warm, or whatever, scripts are the things that we talk about, right? You have to learn the scripts, right? What is a script, right? What is a script? It's what tells you what it's the thing that guides you in what to say, whether you're calling an expired, for sale by owner, a cash offer, online lead, social media lead, whatever the type of lead it is that you're calling, there should be some type of script. Along with the script, you're going to have objection handlers, right? Because if you're speaking with these people, there's also going to be some level of objections that they're going to use. And just like any product, any service, any sales job that you have, people are pretty much going to say the same things. But knowing what to say is half of the battle. Knowing how to say it is the other half, right? The old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm a cat guy. I'd never skinned a cat, and I don't know where that saying came from. But what that means is there's more than one way to do a thing. There's more than one way to ask a question. There's probably, I don't know, dozens, if not hundreds of different ways to ask a question. So right now you're using frameworks, right? And that's fine, right? But today, what we really want to help you to do is take these scripts, take these objection handlers, and look at them a little bit differently. Look at your conversations more conversationally than more that I have this objective, and that objective is to, make a sale. That objective is to do, a thing. It's to find the need inside the need, right? It's going to be to dig a little bit deeper and to hopefully teach you to ask questions a little bit better, right? So when we first start calling, the thing that we tell you is we say, just read the script verbatim. But that ends up sounding what? Robotic. Hi, I'm calling to see if you're interested in buying or selling a house. It's very robotic. And when you're reading directly from a script, people generally know that you're reading directly from a script. If you've ever experienced going to some sort of public speaking format, right, where somebody's up on stage, you can generally tell if they're reading it from their computer or if they've got a teleprompter, or as opposed to somebody that is kind of speaking based on some talking points that they have, right? I speak based on talking points. When I speak, I'm prompted by the screen, but I don't have something that's telling me exactly what to say. Now I see the screen and I figure out, okay, this is what's happening. This is the same way that eventually, once you do become familiarized with the scripts, that you want to speak. It's okay initially. In fact, it's preferred initially that you do read scripts verbatim. You should read them exactly how they're written. But what we know is not everybody speaks the same way. Not everybody has the same cadence, the same rhythm, or even the same words. People use different words to say the same things. So over time, once you've internalized these scripts, meaning you no longer need to hold that piece of paper in your hand, or you no longer need to have that script in front of you in order for you to recite it perfectly. Once you get to that point, then you begin to make the script your own. Right now, you should still type up what it is you would say. You should still have it on a piece of paper. You don't need to read it. But what that does is that's going to ground you in that script, so that if you do find yourself getting too far off, then you can come back and say, okay, yeah, here, this is what I'm supposed to say. Right. The other thing that it does is it allows you to make small changes to your script. For example, something that I added to a script that I found was highly, highly effective when I was calling like crazy. And that was if I would tell them a quick phone call, just the word quick, right? Or brief, letting them know whether that was actually what the outcome of that call was or not. By me saying, hey, I'm just giving you a quick phone call too. I found that by adding that into there, it actually produced better results and kept people on the phone longer. My goal is actually not to have a quick phone call, right? My goal is actually to have a long phone call, because I'm going to talk to them until I do what? Until I get an appointment. That's the goal of the call, right? So what you want to do is here, right? You don't, in the beginning, again, you're going to sound robotic, but you want to get your conversations in a natural rhythm. It needs to sound like a conversation. You're not auditioning for a play, Romeo and Juliet in high school, and you have to follow this script exactly in order for, the scene to play out. And I say this, now you say this. That's not how a real world conversation goes, right? There is a natural flow of conversation, right? What is a flow, right? What is the flow of the conversation? Number one, there's your opening. Your opening is the most important thing that you say. It's the most important thing that you say. It's the thing that's going to help the customer decide, am I going to stay on the phone with this person and continue to engage in this conversation, or am I going to hang up? Because the minute you introduce yourself and you say who you are, they've got their finger over that little red phone button, ready to hang up on you. So your opening is very, very important. It is the most important thing, because if you don't get your opening right, then you don't have an opportunity for whatever would happen next, because they're going to hang up on you, right? You open, hey, this is Joseph Miranda, with MX Realty. I'm just calling. I see your property just left the market unsold. And, I was calling to let you know that we do business completely different. What we found is actually that, well, you guys know the script, right? And then when you say it, right, that script basically puts the other agent on the spot, the agent that had it previously listed. And then you listen, right? You have to hear what they say. Active listening is a very important part of sales calling. because you have to hear what they're saying. And you're not just hearing what they're saying, you're hearing what they're feeling, right? Yeah, somebody might say something, but if you sense a little bit of stress in their voice or tension, you might even get some anger that, that comes over on the other side. It's not directed to you. Understand that. Somebody that's angry, upset, somebody that's, taking, they might take it out on you, and you're the sounding board. You're the person that has to come in, and you have to absorb that from them, right? Our second job after the opening, you ask them a question, right? Now you have to listen to the response. Now, when you respond to their response, acknowledge what they said. I understand what you said. I understand what you're going through. What I'm hearing is this, right? And sometimes this, right? So you respond to it, but you don't just respond with, some blanket statement, right? You're opening, listening, acknowledging, and then responding, right? And you can even validate in that acknowledgement of whatever it is that you're responding to. You can validate their feelings. In fact, it's a very good idea to validate their feelings, right? I've run into customers that have had this same problem, and what we found, right? Feel, felt, found, right? Other people feel your way, right? All right. I understand how you feel. And there have been plenty of people in this world that have felt the same way. And what they found is that by doing this, it solves that problem this way, right? Feel, felt, found. It's very, that's, we probably should have had that a separate slide just for feel, felt, found, but that's okay. I'm telling you about it now. When you respond to somebody, I understand that you feel angry that your previous real estate agent didn't get your property sold, right? I've got, this is why we specialize in what we do. We've got customers that have felt the exact same way that you do over and over and over. And what they found is that by working with us in our unique approach to getting great homes like yours back on the market and sold is, I don't know, whatever they found, right? That they finally were happy to sell their place. Feel, felt, found. That's part of the guidance system, because now when you're responding to them, you're guiding. Now, not only are you guiding them in the decision that they're making, but you're also guiding them through the conversation, right? You're taking them through that conversation. So, you're not forcing a script. You're not, when you have your scripts in front of you, you got your script. Here's your opening. Cool. Got through it. Great. They're still talking. This is amazing. You can't just go to the first objection handler, because that might not be what they say. If they say, well, I'm going to hire my same agent. But the first objection on there might be that we're not selling our property anymore. They don't match, right? Again, you're guiding them through the conversation, and you're following along as you're going through this, right? So your opening line, again, the most important. Now you're listening. Right now, when you're listening, they're going to probably tell you the problem, and they're going to give you some sort of objection. Your job is to figure out, okay, what is that objection? What is that thing, right? So let's talk about conversation enhancers, things that ways that you can address certain things that have been said or that are being said in a way that will hopefully help you to have a more effective conversation. So emotional labeling, right? So this is an advanced skill, right? But emotional labeling is very important, because when you're calling, especially if you're calling, expireds, maybe even for sale by owners. If it's a warm call, there might not be, right? But putting a name on the feeling that you're sensing from the other side. Look, I'm sensing the frustration that you've been through, right? I understand what it's like, especially considering, you told me you need to be in Texas in a month, and now your place just left the market unsold. So yeah, your frustration, the way that you're feeling right now, is totally validated, right? I'm validating the way that you feel, right? So, and then, once you've acknowledged their feelings, now they're gonna, like, they feel heard, right? They feel heard. People need to feel heard, right? If you're on a call and you're just on this agenda, like, okay, I'm on this call and I'm just going to make an appointment no matter what, right? All I care about is making an appointment. All you're going to do is close for the appointment. But if they don't feel like you heard them, your likelihood of actually getting an appointment is going to be very, very low, right? So find that emotion. What is the emotion that is behind where they're at, right? Look, I'm sensing your stress right now just in this conversation. So I can only imagine, what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, knowing that you have this deadline coming up and this thing here isn't even doing anything, right? So, this is, again, it's part of that acknowledgement of what you're hearing, right? If you weren't a real estate agent, you would be a therapist. Okay. That is our job. Our job is to be a professional therapist without the license, right? But our job really is to help somebody to work through their emotions to help them get from where they are to where they want to be, right? A lot of people will cut off their nose to spite their face. People will just do it. They will literally, like, that is the action that they take. Let me cut off my nose to spite my face. Well, that's not okay, right? That is not okay. It is not okay to let somebody cut off. I got to be in Texas, but my house didn't sell, so I guess I'm just not going to take this great job promotion that I was given. Well, no, you have options. Let's discuss this further. Let's see if we can get you to Texas in time to get to your job promotion, right? There is still time, right? You are the calm in the storm, and make sure that you understand that you are the calm in the storm. Emotional labeling, very, very powerful conversational tool. Now, be careful how you say it, right? Like, you don't like, rule number one, if you're speaking with a female and she's very stressed out, very, hyper, you don't say, you need to calm down. Now, I learned that the hard way. I did have another agent's customer that was at a walkthrough and she was freaking out about something and she was yelling and screaming. I did tell her to calm down. Did that calm her down? No. It actually made her much, much worse. You did not tell somebody what to do. You're not telling them what to do. You are simply putting a label on the way that they're feeling. Look, yeah, and it's that, right? It's like, look, I am sensing a lot of stress in your voice. Like, you should not be this stressed out about selling a house. In fact, buying or selling a house should be a very happy occasion for all parties, for everybody involved. So we need to do something about this. Let's figure out how we can take this from stressful and turn this into a victory for you, right? Now you gave them, now you're giving them hope, right? You're giving them a solution, right? What about the permission-based approach, right? So instead of pushing, right? Now this is big because now they're giving you permission to move on, and you've run into this, I guarantee you. 9 out of 10, I don't know, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste. Can I tell you what's so great about this toothpaste? Right? That's what that is. That's what that is. Yeah, sure. Tell me what's so great about that toothpaste. I want to know, right? Would it be okay if I ask you a few questions? Sure. Right. Right here in the previous case of the emotional labeling, you can put a permission based. Can I tell you, I had a customer that actually went through something, you're very stressed, blah, 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 whatever. We actually had somebody a few months ago that went through a very, very similar thing. Can I tell you what we did to help them get through that? Right? Even better. Would it make sense to explore that together? Right? Like that, those right there, permission based. So you're asking them. Now, it's also the same thing, right? Don't ask a question that they're going to say no to. If you know they're going to say no, why would you ask it? Right? Would you mind if I asked you a few questions? No, I don't want any questions right now. Don't ask it. You've got to read the room. You've got to know what type of conversation that you're having with that person. Are they open? Are they receptive? Do they have the time? Because you might have called them out of the blue, right? Maybe they're on their way to work and they're 5 minutes from work. Do they even have time to go through this entire conversation? Read the room. Know who you're talking to. Know what's going on, in this conversation. But permission-based approach, very, very strong, very effective conversational tool, right? It's something that's going to help you because now they're telling you, yeah, I want to know more. Use it wisely. Like you don't want to go through your entire appointment with somebody or your entire conversation with somebody. Can I tell you more about this? Can I tell you more about that? Do you want to know about this? Do you want to know about that? Do this, do that, do this, do that. This is not meant for every, to get through every part of your appointment or your conversation. This is only meant to, to help you in certain areas, right? If you have something truly valuable, if you have something that truly, genuinely you believe would be beneficial to them, then you use it. But again, like everything, you don't want to overuse it. If you overuse it, they're going to they're going to they're going to sense it. They're going to pick up on it. They're going to get, that, and then they're going to feel like you're selling. They're going to feel like they're being sold to, right? The one idea rule, and we all struggle with this. I struggle with this, right? This is, oh, did I miss one? Oh, transition lines, sorry. Okay, yeah, so this is just if you've got to transition your sentence, right? This is if your sentence has to go through some type of transition, right? So this, based on what you said, here's what I'm thinking, right? So you're going from, okay, hearing what they said, hearing what's going on with them, hearing, whatever it is, okay, so based on that, then our approach needs to change, right? I know previously I said that we should do this, but now you're telling me something different, so now we probably should do this. Uh-oh. Hmm. All right, can you guys see me here? I'm gonna have to transition through
Yes.
this. All right. So I don't know what happened. I clearly don't have internet where I'm at. Let me do one thing real quick. That didn't help. Okay. So transition lines, right? So based on your conversation and the flow of your conversation, you may need to implement some type of transition, right? So, and we've all incurred the awkward transition, kind of like I just had to do with these slides, right? Like, or with this presentation. You don't want an awkward transition. I should have transitioned from one camera to the next easier, but I did not, right? So, but that's neither here nor there, but your transition and your ability to go from one place to the next, or to be able to do one thing to the other, and pretty much or somewhat seamlessly, should be, it should be smooth, right? It should be a smooth transition, kind of like how I'm going to do this now. You see that? That was amazing. All right, so transition lines. Now we're going to go on to the one rule idea. This was where I was before. All right, this one, important, right? This one is something that even me, myself, I get stuck on this one because I want to just read all the features and all the highlights, right? This home has a pool, a great location, updated kitchen, new bathrooms, hardwood floors, all these things, right? When you're talking about a home, right? Number one, you should be listening to them and what's important to them. I'm always listening to what the customer's saying and what is important to them about the home, right? Always listening, always paying attention. So focus on that, or focus on those few things that, right? If the location is important, then, what stands out about this house is that it's right near that school that you wanted to be living next to. Not only is it near that school, it's it's this many minutes from work. It's this, and this, right? You're just talk about the location, and then what this is going to help you do. If you say pool, location, kitchen, bathroom, roof, windows, doors, like all of that, Now they're bringing in all of this data into them, and maybe you only get feedback about one thing. When you're showing homes, do you want to show 5 homes or do you want to show 55 homes before you get the contract? Right? Actually, I prefer to show 1. I don't even like to show homes. Right? Why don't I like to show homes? Because I don't know if I'm going to show 5 homes or 55 homes. Like, you could spend a lot of time, you could put a lot of miles on your car, put a lot of gas, use a lot of electricity, whatever your cost of showing a home is, you can spend a lot of time on that, right? This rule is designed to save you time on those showings. Talk about one thing, get their feedback on the one thing. Don't go over everything all at once, all at the same time. And then, you just showered them with all these features and benefits. What do you think about the location? What do you think about the kitchen? What do you think about the bathroom? You're asking them pointed questions about very specific things because they tell you that, well, this is not the location that we wanted to be in. Everything else is perfect, but we don't want to be in this location. Are you gonna take them to the house across the street? No, right? Now you're gonna say, okay, what don't you like about this location? You're gonna have more conversations about what is it about this location that you're not feeling, right? What is it about this thing that you're not loving, right? What is it? Figure it out, and then don't take them to any more homes with that thing. Why would you? Right? Our job is to listen. Our job is 100% to listen. Right? Like 100%. The next one, this is one of my favorites. Literally one of my favorites. This one you can use at home. Maybe any of these you could use at home. I don't know. But this one, you can definitely. I love pattern interrupts. People don't know it, but I use them all the time. Right? And it's a pattern, and it can really just be anything. Somebody gets into a negative pattern. Let's say you're at home and you're with your spouse and they're in a negative pattern, right? Or let's say they're sad, or let's say somebody's sad. Okay? Your spouse is at home and they're sad because of something. If you grab a glass of ice water and you throw it in their face, are they still going to be sad? No, probably not, right? What are they going to be? They're probably going to be angry, right? They might be shocked. They might, probably angry, right? Angry is probably the word. They're going to be angry. But you took them from sad to angry. And that's what a pattern interrupt. It is a thing that is designed to break the pattern of what it is that they're going through right now. So a lot of my pattern interrupts are geared around saying things to change the mood of the conversation, right? It's just things that I say. I don't think these are real good examples of pattern interruptions. So I don't want to talk about these too much. What I really want to talk about with a pattern interrupt is what you really need. What works for me, the way that I use a pattern interrupt is when somebody is in a negative flow. They're in a negative cycle. They're having negative conversations. I need to stop the negativity, right? Like, and every person is going to be a little bit different about how you stop that negativity. Like my wife, she's used to me doing like some pretty crazy things. If she gets into a pattern that, I'm kind of sensing something and I want to interrupt her pattern, I could be a little bit more extreme with her. I probably could throw some water on her, right? And break that pattern of being, sad or negative or whatever. And then I know that it's going to turn into her being angry, right? But then I'm going to try to take her from angry to like laughing and happy. That's a pattern interrupt. She's like, not to like sit here and talk about my wife, and just to give extreme examples, right? Again, this is not like a real, this didn't really happen. But, I walk home and let's say, my wife's at the dining room table and she's sobbing and she's crying. And, oh, what's the matter? oh, I just heard about, the turtles in the ocean and how our plastic is, killing them now. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing. And I'm like, oh, baby, but it's going to be okay. No, 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 it's not going to be okay. And then I grab ice water and I throw it in her face. Does she care about turtles anymore? She does not care about turtles anymore, right? She is pissed off. She is so pissed right now. And sometimes, I'll be honest, so true story, I do tickle my wife, right? Like, so sometimes we're going through something and I would just start tickling her. If you're arguing with your spouse, well, depending, I don't know your spouse, I'm not recommending this, and you start tickling them, that would be if they're ticklish. If they're not ticklish, they're going to be like, what in the world are you doing? Don't touch me. But if they're ticklish, then they're not going to be able to help but to smile. I do it to my kids. When they're angry, I do the don't smile, right? The dad thing, don't smile. Don't smile. Don't smile. It gets them from, angry. And then because you told them not to smile, and like kids just naturally want to be defiant. What do? They're going to smile, right? They smile. It's pattern interrupt. It's huge. It's huge. This is massive. If you can master the pattern interrupt, then you can take somebody, oh, well, there's just no hope, and I'm just never going to find a house. We looked at three houses, and none of these are right for me. And it's just, I'm good. We might as well just give up now. Right. And if you could figure out how to turn that around and how to turn that person from like this, depressed, like no hope type of individual, right, with the pattern interrupt, and figure out a way to get their mind now moving in a different direction, your job just get a whole lot easier. It just got a whole lot easier. You've got to figure out how to get people in. And it really, I don't know, maybe you want to do a pattern interrupt, somebody that's happy and make them angry. That's probably easy. But somebody that's upset, somebody that's sad, somebody that's overwhelmed, somebody that's stressed out, somebody that's anxious about something. If you can figure out a way to interrupt that pattern, you break the pattern, you boom, stop, new emotion. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful. I do it by joking, but I just joke all the time. So, like, I don't know. And sometimes it's probably annoying, but I don't care. Whatever. All right. Pattern interrupts. Very, very powerful in your entire life. If you get nothing else from this, learn more about pattern interruptions and learn what you can do. And you will learn how to take people from a negative mindset and put them into a better mindset. Pattern interruptions are very, very, very big thing. I was first introduced to these by Tony Robbins. I don't know if he's the one that like coined the phrase, but he spends a lot of time on self-improvement, this, that, and the other thing. And then the other thing is if you can learn how to interrupt your own pattern, right? So if you've ever studied Tony Robbins, you know that he has certain things that he does to put his mind into a certain state, right? Like if I watched this documentary about him, I think it's on Netflix. I don't remember, but they kind of showed behind the scenes, how kind of some of the stuff that he did behind the scenes. And he has physical motions that he does to get himself into a certain mindset. He has conditioned his body that when he does these certain physical motions, that he will now go into a certain mood, right? So if you see him like when he's backstage and he's kind of getting ready to go on stage, and then he does something like like this, right? He does like a thing like this, and that's his pattern interrupt. So like figure out something for yourself when you're going on a listing appointment and you're stressed out about it. I know my pattern interrupt. Whenever I would go on listing appointments, like I'd be, like let's say it's a 30-minute drive. I'll talk to my wife or I'll talk to somebody for, 5 or 10 minutes of that drive. And that last 15 to 20 minutes, I would just be putting on like motivational pump up music, right? Like whatever, what is that? What is the, who is that artist, or what are those songs that when you put them on, you can just feel the chills, right, in your body, and you can feel the energy, Music is emotional, right? Music can definitely elicit emotions out of you. Pattern interrupts are all about emotions. Like, you're not going to listen to Adele on your way to a listing appointment. It's depressing, right? You're going to get there and they're going to be like, who is this depressed real estate agent sitting across from me, right? You might even live some like ex, boyfriend or girlfriend trauma that you went through, and you're like sitting in there, and then they turn into the therapist for you. You don't listen to Adele. That'd be ridiculous, right? What would you listen to? I don't know who it would be for you. For me, it's like Imagine Dragons. I like Imagine Dragons. I wouldn't listen to Coldplay. They're kind of like, they're good, but they would be kind of like depressing for me, right? Maybe it is Coldplay for you. Maybe it is Adele for you. I don't know, but it wouldn't be for me. I want music that gives me energy, right? Music that just like hypes me up, right? And maybe you come up with a physical motion that you tie to that energy. So every time you feel that energy, you do the physical motion, and pretty soon, when you do that physical motion, your body is now programmed to have the same effect as you're listening to that music, right? So pattern interruptions. Interrupt your spouse's patterns, interrupt your customers' patterns, interrupt your teenagers' patterns, because all teenagers have bad patterns, and interrupt your own patterns. These are huge. These are like absolutely massive. Conversations not going the way you want it to go. You better put a pattern interruption into that conversation. Well, Joe, we've given a lot of thought, and we just, we think you're a good agent, but I better stop them right there and interrupt that pattern. Right? Now, does it change their mind? I don't know. Right? But I'm going to try. I want to change their mind. Right? I want to change the way that they feel about me, about the situation, about whatever. Things not going your way, interrupt the pattern. Break that, sad, angry, right? Break it. I'm spending a lot of time on pattern interruptions because I feel very, very strongly about pattern interruptions, right? It's like the profiles of a dysfunctional home, the scapegoat child, right? That child is the pattern interrupt. Usually they're like the class clown, they're this, they're that. Mom and dad start fighting, and this kid wants to come in and he wants to break that. That's what it is. It's a pattern interruption, right? And that's why a lot of times, in dysfunctional homes, there's a kid that does things maybe to bring attention to themselves, even if it's negative, so that the attention doesn't go to the mom or the dad, right? Their subconscious pattern, they don't know the term for it. You could be sad but not know the word sad, right? It's still a feeling. There could be people that just naturally break patterns and they don't know that they're doing pattern interruptions. But once you become aware of this, now you can begin implementing it consciously, right? Now you can consciously look for opportunities to interrupt the pattern interruptions. All right, that's all I have to say about that. I could talk about this all day. Handling objections naturally. Again, yeah, you're starting out. You're a new agent. You're reading a script. That's fine. You read the script. Hey, this is Joe with MX Realty. I'm calling to see, are you thinking about selling your house in the next 12 months? Script. Fine. It's great. No, we're not. Would I just hang up? Right? Or would I come up with something else? Right? Acknowledge, relate, guide. These are very important things. When we talk about the ABCs of cold calling, one of them is build that connection, get a key piece of information. That's your relation part, right? That's where you want to relate with them. If you can't relate with them, you have a customer in the past that related to them. You had a scenario similar to theirs. Oh, I wasn't buying a house, but I was buying a car, and I went through the same thing, right? Oh, I wasn't selling a house, but I was selling, I don't know, the family dog. Right. And it was very emotional for me because I didn't want to have to sell my family dog. Right. Like, I don't know, whatever it is, but find a way to relate to people. People like them. Have to be like them. Right. Find that way to relate to them. And then when you can relate to them and now they trust you, now they will trust your guidance. Right. But, and don't, you know, number one, acknowledge. Don't ever gloss over acknowledging what somebody just said. You know, like, well, you know, we really like this house, but, you know, it's blue and we really just wanted a greenhouse. You know, like, acknowledge that, right? And that's an easy one. That's an easy one. Oh, yeah, you look, I understand. But if you just go over and say, okay, let me go find you some greenhouses, right? Like, you know, well, no, because there's more conversation to be had in that, right? Acknowledge, right? So people, they're just not ready yet, right? Let's say you're on the phone, right? You got a lead for a house, 123 Main Street, and you give them a call, right? We're not ready yet. Great. That's okay. This is a great script when people are not ready yet. Totally fair. Most people actually start there. But listen, so that I don't just send you random homes, you know, what are you hoping to see or learn while you're looking at these homes, right? What type of home are you looking at, right? I get it. You're not ready, right? That's fine. Most people are not ready when I call them. Most people don't, you know, wait to start looking at homes when they're ready to buy. They want to start looking and figuring out, what can I expect? What would my budget be? You know, what do I like about a home? What do I not like about a home? Listen, let me ask you a few questions. That way, when I do send you properties, I'm not just send you, you know, random homes, right? Micro stories. Again, this is part of the relating part with them. You have to relate with them. So if you have a customer that went through a similar thing, or if you've been through a similar thing yourself, right, you can use these micro story strategies. You can go to the next slide, please. You can use these micro story strategies that are going to help to really, you know, Jesus. I don't know if you're a Christian or not. It's okay if you're not. I am, right? But Jesus spoke in parables, and like, whenever he had to get a big point across to somebody, he spoke in parables, right? So he took something that was on the surface unrelated to this thing that he's talking about. But when you step back and you start saying, okay, this is this, and this is this, and this is this, then you really begin to understand what he's trying to say in that parable. And it makes a very complex topic or idea easier to understand, right? So if you can find ways that, you know, when somebody says, you know, this thing here, you use a small story, right? Use an analogy. I use a lot of analogies. You know, I compare things when I'm talking to somebody, and if, you know, the agents in my office, if you've called me, you've probably heard me when I'm explaining things. I use analogies. I compare things, right? This is like this. It makes it easier to understand, especially when you're talking about a complex subject. And buying and selling a home might be second nature to us, but for somebody who isn't in the real estate business, they might buy or sell a home once every 10 years. This is not second nature to them, right? They know less than you probably on your first day getting your real estate license, right? And so we have to find ways to help them understand these complex things very quickly. Very quickly. They've got to understand complex things very quickly, because if they don't understand it, then the decision that they make won't be fully informed. And if making a decision that you're not fully informed on, that you don't fully understand, you might make the wrong decision. So it's our job to figure out. So micro stories is one of those, right? Again, a lot of times I take it back to a previous client, right? We take it back to a previous client, and it should end in a victory. Like, you know, you wouldn't want it to end in a bad way. Like, oh yeah, I had a customer just like you, and well, he didn't buy anything either, so good luck. Doesn't help. That doesn't help, right? Like, tell them, okay, they had your problem. Here's what they did, right? And here's how that turned out. Again, similar to feel, felt, found. Right? I understand how you feel. I had another customer that felt the same way, but what they found is this, right? I understand what you're saying, right? I had another customer. Here's their story, right? And the story is how they felt and what they found. Feel, felt, found, right? Bring it back to that, right? So All right. Going to bring this one in here for a landing. So we do have some ways that you can implement, or just some kind of quick things to help you implement this, right? Number one, and they shouldn't be just open like a human. Just know that you are on the other line speaking to another human being. Humans are not always logical. In fact, most of the time they're emotional. Even investors, even people that are coming in and all they care about is the numbers, a lot of times they are still emotional because they have other things going on there in their lives that relate to this, that bring emotion into it. Right? So when you're talking to somebody, understand, or when you're speaking with, you're not talking to them. Let me take that back. You're speaking with them. You're having a conversation. All of your calls, whether they're cold, whether they're warm, whether they're hot, whatever kind of lead you have, you are dealing with a human being at the other end of that phone line. Treat it as such, right? They have feelings. This is not the only thing that's going on in their life. You are not the most important person to them, at least not right now. When you get under contract, you probably will be, at least until you close, right? But just understand that you're dealing with another human being at the other end of that phone, face to face. And they've got their own challenges, their own struggles, their own victories. They've got their own stuff going on. Understand that it's not about you. You're not the only agent that can get them to where they want to be. You should be the only agent that can get them where they want to be, but you're not. Somebody else can get them a similar result. What we know is if they hire you, that you are the best agent that they could hire because you actually care. And you're not going to sell for the sake of selling, right? Number two, listen more than you speak. That one, we've heard that our whole lives. We've heard that our whole lives. Practice active listening, right? Be active. Hear what they're saying. Don't just wait for them to stop talking so you can say something. That's the worst thing you can do, because you probably didn't even hear what they said. And once, it's really difficult to overcome the fact that you didn't hear what somebody just said, right? That's very difficult to overcome that. Once they believe that you are not listening to what they're saying, you're losing them, right? It happens to me a lot at home. I miss a lot of things my wife says. She says a lot of things, and I am so guilty of that. And I have to just tell her, honey, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. Can you please repeat that? My head is somewhere else, right? With customers, you're not married to, well, you might be kind of married to them because they did sign an agency agreement, or they should have, right? But they could cancel it, right? It's not a divorce. So, but the thing I'm trying to say is just always practice active listening when you're with your customers. Because when you're engaged in what they're saying, you're going to pick up on nuances in what they're saying. And then you're going to be able to better guide them. You're going to be able to better handle the objections, because maybe somebody has an objection that previously is in conflict with something that they said, right? Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. You don't like this house because it's on the water, but you did state that you wanted to be, in this neighborhood with, these features, these amenities, this, and this. Is this still the case, right? Yes, it is. Okay. Is water an absolute deal breaker for you, right? I don't know, whatever, right? Whatever it is. But if you're listening when somebody's speaking, then you're going to hear more than just what they said in that moment. You're going to hear everything they said before that as well, right? Follow their lead. Follow your customer's lead. The people want to, how do you say this? People want to, buy something, but they don't want to be sold, right? So don't be salesy in this process. Let your customer lead the process. Now, obviously, we're the professionals. We're the experts. We're the ones who know, the inventory, the product, the negotiation, the contracts, the timelines, the vendors, the professionals. We know all that, right? But we're not the ones living in the house. we're not the ones selling the house, right? Like, or we're not the owners of the house that we're selling, right? So if at the end of the day, your customer says something and you're not really following them, you're kind of like, no, we're going to come over here, right? And then for whatever reason they follow you, they buy a home that they're not completely happy with, they have some sort of buyer's remorse, they sell a home and they didn't get the best outcome, are they going to come back to you? Maybe not, right? Probably not. I wouldn't go back to somebody who just sold me. Yeah, I wanted to buy, but I didn't want to be sold, right? You're not selling them. You're guiding them, but they're telling you where they want to go. You just happen to know, they're going to climb Mount Everest. You're going to follow the Sherpa, right? But you're only following the Sherpa because you want to get to the top of Mount Everest, right? KISS, keep it simple, silly. That one goes without saying. Don't overcomplicate things. I do it a lot. Don't get me wrong. I probably did it on this. I probably did on pattern interrupts. I probably really complicated that one because I feel very strongly about it. But don't be like me. All right, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Short, sweet, right? Keep it simple. Don't complicate things that don't need to be complicated. Again, guide, don't push. We already hit that one. Wait. This one is really a big one. Wait. What does wait mean? Why am I talking? Why am I talking? There are so many times when we should not be talking and we talk. And it's absolutely ridiculous that we're talking. Why are we talking right now? Know when to speak and know when you should be quiet. Here's what I know. Here's what I know for sure. If people are moving into the house at the showing, we could put the sofa here. We could put the table here. We could put this here. We could put this here. I shouldn't be talking. I don't need to give them design ideas. They're already designing it themselves. Wait. There's no reason to be talking. No reason to say or do anything. Just let them speak. Let them design the house. Because if they're designing the house, they're probably writing an offer. So wait is very important. We don't need to be speaking all the time. I'm guilty of this too. I talk a lot. A lot of times I feel like people need to hear what I have to say, and most of the time they probably don't, right? And I don't know if that's you or not, but there's definitely times when you should just tell yourself, wait, why am I talking? There's times to speak, and then there's times to be quiet and let the customer get their thoughts out. Let the customer get their feelings out, their opinions out, and just give them time to do these things, right? Wait. So ask yourself, why am I talking? And if you can't give a good reason why you're talking, then just stop talking, because you might talk yourself out of a sale. And that can happen, right? And again, you're dealing with humans. You're not following a script, right? You're following the client. You're following their needs. They're taking you down a path that maybe you've never been down before, right? But they're the leaders. The customer is the person that's leading this conversation, because they're the only ones that really have something on the line. We got nothing on the line. Doesn't close one way or another, we lose some time. And if you guarded your time right, you shouldn't lose that much time, because there's certain things you should do ahead of time to make sure that you don't go out and waste a bunch of time, right? But just know that your client is the boss. Your client is the leader. It's their needs that we're trying to fulfill. It's what they're looking for that we're trying to find, right? That's our job. Our job is not to say, well, this is, and sometimes maybe we know, right? Like, this is the house for you. I know we've only, this is our first day looking, and we've only looked at 4 houses, but I've looked at thousands of houses in my career. And I can tell you, based on what you're telling me and what I know about the market right now, this one fits the bill. If you don't buy this one, you're going to, you may have a very hard time finding another one like this one. I would, highly recommend. So maybe you have to push them a little bit, but it's pushing them in the direction that they want to go. You're not pushing them in a direction that they don't want to go. I hope that makes sense. All right. So, well, that's really about it, guys. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any persuasion I don't want to say tactics, persuasion tips that I said tactics though, didn't I? Dang it. Said that out loud. Shouldn't have said that. All right, pattern interrupt. All right, let's start this over. All right. Anybody have any persuasion tips that you use that work well on anything, your customer, your pets, your family, like in any areas?
I use treats a lot for my daughter and cookies. So I don't know if that applies to some of our clients maybe, but.
That's huge. Yes. Rewarding good behavior. I'm trying to think how can we use that for a customer? I'm not sure, because I do have a rule, and that just makes me think about one of my rules, because I have a lot of rules when it comes to like how I interact with customers. One of them is I don't buy them lunch until they've purchased or sold something with me, because I've done it too many times and then they didn't purchase and sell, and I'm like, dang, I spent way too much money on their lunch, man. We'll have to think about that one though. How can we, how can we give treats to our customers without them thinking that they're being trained?
Yeah, I was halfway kidding, because I do that with her, obviously. But a nice lunch, or obviously a thank you gift, or maybe somewhere in the middle of the process, just even a handwritten note. But just my thought.
Handwritten notes are huge. I used to do them when I was like really in the beginning of my career. I did handwritten notes, and I went on more than one listing appointment where they had the note at the table.
Wow.
I had one lady that had it hung on her fridge. It's kind of weird, but okay. Yeah, handwritten notes are a big one. Those ones definitely pull at the heartstrings. So yeah, that's a good strategy. That's a good tactic.
Awesome.
But, yeah,
I like the ice throwing.
Try it on your husband. See how that works. Next time he's well, I wouldn't say upset.
I'm gonna try it with all my kids, my dogs, and my husband, and my clients sometimes.
Try it when they're happy and they're having too much fun, right? And then you'll see their mood shift very quickly.
It really did tickle me a lot. So I like the thoughts. So I'm gonna adopt that.
The thing that the reason I use that example is because we actually throw water in our house. Like if somebody says something to us, it's not out of the question that you might get water thrown on you. And most people freak out that their floors get wet. We don't care. Like we've had water fights in our house. So yeah, I'm not above it. I'm definitely not. My kids know they could get water thrown at them, but it's in fun and it's in love. They know I love them.
I agree. If it's fun, yeah, sure. And then you just call claim closers if you damage. if you damage your home, claim closers.
Claim closers will settle your claim. Love it. I love it. All right. Anybody else have anything before we end here? All right.
I had a lot of thoughts, but I totally forgot.
You had a pattern interrupt and all those thoughts.
I didn't want a pattern interrupt you, so.
I love that. All right. Well, next week is going to be our round table mastermind session. This was originally slated to be a beyond real estate training, the in-person that we've been doing. We ran into some logistic issues with that one. So unfortunately, we're not going to have one in April. We're going to pick it up in May. And we're trying to get ahead about 3 or 4 months on those. We do hear the request for commercial, land, business, all of that. We have some people that are lined up already to do some of these. And then this was part of a series that we've been doing. Once we get through this series, we can hit some of those. And then once we get through some of the people that we have lined up to do the beyond real estate, we can start having some professionals coming as well. I promise you, it's not that we're not hearing you or we're not trying to do it. It's just when we're in a series, we want to finish the series before we kind of veer off. And if we've got people lined up to do things, we don't want to go back and reschedule with them either. But those will be coming up. And then Tuesday, April 28th will be our next Ask the Broker. We might be through the series. We either have one more left or we're through the series. So Irene probably knows. Irene, are we through the series now?
No, we still have
Still have one more.
We have one
Still
more.
have
Okay.
one.
So please come back in April 28th so we can finish this series, and then we'll start the series, some of our stuff, and I'm willing to teach what I know about these subjects, but then at some point we want to bring people who do it, more on a regular basis to speak about this stuff as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're a little bit over on time. I apologize. I hate ending on time, but very happy you're here. And remember, if you guys need anything at all, you can call me. You got if it needs to be visual or something with Bold Trail back office or whatever, you can always pop in the lobby room with Irene. We, believe it or not, we love it when you guys pop in. You guys can come in and just hang out, even if you want. If you want to just sit there and just work, that's fine too. If you don't want to, that's okay. But and remember, if you're out and about, you're driving in your car and you need something, well, when it's safe, you could always pop in the lobby room with us and we can help you get that as well. So we're here absolutely as your support. We don't know what we don't know. So, you have to tell us what you need, but don't stay stuck. That's the number one motto. Whatever you need, we want to help you get through that and get you to the next level. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. You are what makes this company great. So if you need
Joe, before you leave, sorry to interrupt.
All good.
We have a lunch and learn on the 21st. You have dry medic and claim closers.
I think that one got is that one working out, Irene?
No, nobody confirmed that. Is that the one that you and Donna is working on?
Yeah.
I am not aware.
All right, let's deal with this outside of here.
I'll send you the information.
Okay.
All right, so maybe we do have a Beyond Real Estate next week. I don't know things, but all right, we'll clarify that. Sorry guys for the miscommunication, but we'll get that clarified. And next week, remember every Tuesday, except for the 5th Tuesday, although we may start doing things on the 5th Tuesday as well. But every Tuesday, noon to 1, that's when our trainings are. So you can always count on something there. You block out every Tuesday, noon to 1, you will find a training here. And I know we have some requests for certain trainings. If there's other things that you guys want us to, teach on, or if you want us to bring somebody in from the outside to teach on it, we're more than happy to do it. So just let us know, whatever it is. So, and we'll figure out what it is on the 21st. So we will be doing something on the 21st, just to be determined. So, all right. Thank you guys. Take care. Don't stay stuck.